Rise at 7 o'clock. We stand to say the pledge. Remain standing for a moment of silence for any loved ones. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any first-time folks here? Raise your hand. First-timers? Can you just tell us what street you're from, sir?
I live on Gordon Avenue.
Gordon?
Gordon.
Okay. Ma'am? Southern Parkway. Welcome.
Cool.
Okay. I'm here. Chris is excused. Dina, Mike's here. Ed's here. Minutes are on back of the agenda. Take a look. If there's any changes or things that need to be corrected, let us know. I make a motion to approve the minutes. Second, guys?
Yeah.
Yep.
Dina?
Third.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
All right, we're gonna get right to our speaker. I think he's a good guy personally. Erie County District Attorney Michael Keane.
And thank you. How's everybody doing?
Good job.
Can you hear me now?
What are we
It's
on?
like one of those Verizon commercials.
What are we looking for?
So, the PowerPoint isn't all that, I don't have to really follow it, but it just gives us a little bit of, sort of an overview of what we do in the district attorney's office, and I thought I'd bring it along just to sort of give us a frame of reference. And but actually, if you guys have any questions at any point in time, just raise your hand or interrupt me, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. I just really wanted to take the opportunity to come out, introduce myself, and kind of describe what we do in the Erie County District Attorney's Office. So thank you for having me stand, and thanks everybody for being here. See if we can move forward. Great. So that is me. I was elected 2 years ago in November. I was, just give you a little background about myself. I came back into the District Attorney's Office in 2017 when John Flynn had gotten elected, and he made me his first deputy. So I served as his right hand essentially for 7.5 years until he went and left and went into the private sector. And then I became the acting district attorney and then got elected that November. So I actually started my career in 1994, well, about a year before, but in 1994 in the district attorney's office. Kevin Dillon, who was the DA at the time, some of you may remember his name, or remember him. He was a professor of mine at UB Law School, and he made a very compelling impression on me, and I wanted to go to work for him, quite frankly. I had no idea before I met him that I would want to be an assistant district attorney, but I took a job with him in 1994, and I stayed there for 5 years. I loved the work. I loved it. I just sort of moved up, moved up the ladder, so to speak, in the district attorney's office, starting out handling really low-level cases, like petty larcenies and lower crimes like stolen cars, up to the point when I was there for 5 years. I was handling homicides and sexual assaults and the most horrific crimes. I left in 1999 when my wife and I started a family. She told me that one of us had to make more money, and that had to be me. So she was an assistant DA as well, and so I left the office and went into the private sector, and I stayed there for 18 years, working for 2 different law firms, primarily handling civil litigation, continuing my career as a trial attorney. That's my trade. I learned how to try cases before juries, and I loved doing that work. But I missed the work that we did in the district attorney's office, and in the feeling, quite frankly, of serving my community. And even though I was making a lot more money in the private sector, when John Flynn offered me the job to come back into the office and help him run the office, I took him up on it. It's not an easy decision. My wife and I debated it for a little bit, and eventually, we decided that this was the right decision. I love the work. I love the people that I get to work with every day. People like the Cheektowaga Police Department, people who work in the Buffalo Police Department. I'm here with one of our investigators, Molly Sanford. She is a retired Buffalo police officer who came to work for me not too long ago. And, it's really a privilege to do the work that I do every day. I will tell you quite candidly, it is not a job that I enjoy a lot of days. But I still love it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's a privilege to do the job. It really is. And we handle really serious cases. We handle horrific crimes, and I know one of them recently touched the people of this community. In fact, I'm not going to talk about the case, but that man was just arraigned today on the indictment for the homicide of his wife and 2 kids in Cheektowaga, as well as the 4th person in the city of Buffalo. That is the serious side of our office. That's the most serious side of our office. Paul, you look at it a bit. So that's the office under John Flynn. I got to get a more recent picture, but that's John and I up front, and that's a good chunk of our office. We actually have 230 people that work for us, including 110 lawyers and a whole bunch of support staff, including 15 confidential criminal investigators. We have receptionists. We have secretaries. We have people we call discovery expeditors. They help us get the evidence and all the paperwork from the police departments all over the community. We have paralegals, and if it were a law firm, a private firm, we would be the 3rd biggest law firm in Erie County. So, in Erie County, we have about 25,000 cases a year, every year. Those are from the lowest level, like I mentioned, petty larceny. Somebody steals something from the Galleria Mall, and if its property value is worth less than $1,000, that's what we call petty larceny. That's an A misdemeanor. We have, like criminal trespass. You have those are the lowest level cases, and then we have all the way up to the homicide cases and then horrific sexual assaults that we see. All total, there's about 25,000 every year. The felony cases, which are the most serious cases, the homicides, the robberies, the burglaries, those cases total, out of that 25,000, those cases total less than 1,000 a year. So even though we are a very busy office, the vast majority of what we do is the lower level cases. So the 110 lawyers that I have, there's only a few of them that are handling those homicides. I got half a dozen lawyers that handle those kinds of cases. So we handle the misdemeanors in towns like Cheektowaga, Tonawanda, Orchard Park, all throughout the county. Your town court only has jurisdiction to handle low-level cases, the misdemeanor cases. The serious crimes, like the burglaries and the robberies, they go downtown, and those are handled in Erie County Court and in Supreme Court downtown Buffalo. So, in addition to prosecuting those cases, all of those 25,000 cases, my responsibility and the responsibility of the people who work for me are not only to support those cases with thorough investigations, but to also try to be proactive in the way that we fight crime. So there are a lot of different things that we do today that I can tell you we did not do in 1994 when I started. When I first came to the DA's office, we're so much smarter and we're so much more proactive in trying to prevent crime from occurring even before it happens. Obviously, we're never going to be able to prevent all crime, but I think we've made some serious inroads, and I can talk to you about some of the data that supports, the messaging that you've probably heard, which is that violent crime in Erie County is down significantly the last few years. But go ahead. So these are the different bureaus that we have in the office. You can see the Buffalo City Court Bureau. That's obviously cases that are in Buffalo City Court or in the city of Buffalo. Is this still working? No. All right, somebody wanted me to leave and shut up. There we go. All right, sorry. So, the Justice Courts Bureau, that is the bureau that handles all of the towns and villages across Erie County. So, those again are like our newer lawyers, our younger lawyers, cover all the towns and villages. Grand jury is where we investigate and present to the grand jury the serious cases, felony cases. Homicide speaks for itself. Major Crimes Bureau is essentially that has become our non-fatal shootings. Then we got vehicular crimes, narcotics intelligence. Domestic Violence Bureau is a bureau that has really expanded over the years. I can tell you that bureau started in the early 90s, didn't even exist. And now I think we have 8 lawyers just in that bureau alone, and we have a number of support staff that work exclusively with the victims in those kinds of cases. And domestic violence is a problem. It's a scourge on our community across this country, quite frankly, and it's one of the problems that we're still trying to figure out, how to solve it. So, and then of course, anytime we get a conviction, we have appeals, and we have lawyers that just work in that bureau. So, and then on the bottom there, so this is another innovation of mine and John Flynn's before me. The Raise the Age Insurance Auto Theft Bureau is really, our effort to deal with a problem that exists in a way that it didn't exist 10 years ago. The stolen car cases that we have today, we didn't see it 10 years ago. And we always had stolen cars, of course, but not in the numbers that exist today. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. But so we created a bureau with some of our senior lawyers just to handle those kinds of cases. And the reason it's tied together with the Raise the Age Bureau is because the state legislature, in its infinite wisdom, decided a few years ago, a little sarcasm there, didn't get up on it. They decided that they would decriminalize essentially low-level crimes. And so now you have 15 and 16-year-olds committing felonies like stealing a car is a felony, and we can't prosecute them because they go to family court. So I don't even have jurisdiction over those cases, not until they've done it more than once or until there's violence involved. So it's a little complicated, maybe too complicated to get into, but I'm happy to try to answer questions about that when I'm done with my opening remarks here. So, Paul. And those are some of the specialized divisions that we have. We have an animal cruelty unit where I have one lawyer that just handles those cases, and she's very passionate about it, does a terrific job. The public integrity unit and the conviction integrity unit are things that were started by John and I a few years back. And then the ERPO, Extreme Risk Protection Unit, is in response to what you guys may have heard of as the red flag law. That is when people are having a mental health crisis, if somebody in a family or somebody calls the police and they think that they're in danger of hurting themselves or someone else, and they think there are weapons in the home, the police can respond to that. It's not even necessarily a criminal charge, but it's just to try to be proactive to prevent someone from getting hurt and so on. And these are the treatment courts. This is another initiative that, again, none of these existed, with one exception, the Veterans Court in 1994. The Veterans Court was started, and I actually started my career working in front of this judge, Robert Russell, Buffalo City Court. He started the very first Veterans Court in the entire country, here in Buffalo, New York. But none of the other courts, those did not exist in 1994. And the whole point of those treatment courts is, you have people committing crimes that they have any one of these problems. They either have a mental health problem or a drug problem, and we don't just prosecute them. We try to get them into a treatment program that will deal with their underlying problems. Because my goal is to keep them from coming back into court, from committing another crime, and coming back into the system. So those kinds of sort of proactive initiatives, like I said, those are relatively new developments over the last 20 years or so. Diversity, equity, inclusion. John and I made this an emphasis in the first few years of his administration. We've got a much more diverse office than we had years ago. It really helps us in the community. I spend a lot of time going to community events like this one, And I bring lawyers along with me, or I bring other members of the support staff. I think I just, hang on, now, can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Okay. All right, I want to see if I can do this without having this happen the third time. One of the things I can tell you about this is spending time in the community, and I don't know if other district attorneys before me or John Flynn did this, but I spend a lot of time in the community, especially the part of our community where the most violent crime occurs. And when they see me, you build up relationships, you build up trust, so that when we have a problem in one of those neighborhoods, they trust us. They know I'm here to help. They know that the people that work for me and the police departments that patrol in those, we actually, modeled our community engagement program after the Buffalo Police Department because it was so effective. And I think it works. If we don't have witnesses cooperating with us when we investigate crimes, we really can't do anything. I mean, we can't prosecute our cases without the cooperation of the witnesses, and they don't want to cooperate with us if they don't trust us. So we're out in the community all the time, and I think our diversity, equity, inclusion program is a big part of that, and it's helped us in ways that we can't really see. But that's just sort of, and that's just sort of highlighting what I've been talking about. But so, this is one of the things I sort of touched on when I was talking about domestic violence crimes. We have, in our office, we have, it says 9 full-time victim advocates, but we actually have 16. They're just divided up into different sections within the office, and it's a unique thing to the Erie County District Attorney's Office. Most communities across this state do not employ the victim advocates. We employ them. Really, they serve a number of different functions. Essentially, they are there to help explain what is going to take place with the investigation and prosecution of a crime where they were the victim. And then we also, so these are the kinds of things that they do. They obviously offer emotional support. They go to and from court with them. They explain, to them what's going to take place on, in the prosecution of the case. A lot of times they need safety planning. We have a woman in Haven House right now that we just placed there the other day. She's a victim of domestic violence, and we help facilitate that and other needs that they have. And having the victim advocates actually work for our office is a tremendous asset to our office. It helps us get people to cooperate with us that might not otherwise be willing to do so. Because especially in domestic violence cases, they're scared. There's a cycle of violence where they'll be beaten up by their spouse, and then the next day there'll be forgiveness, and they'll just move through this cycle. So a lot of times we can't get them to cooperate. The victim advocates are a tremendous resource for us, and they help us to move forward with these cases. So, but that's a specialized part. The Be Safe Domestic Violence Program is more specific about what I was just talking about. So that should be better. And this is just more, sort of highlighting how we're involved in the community, and how our Be Safe advocates and our there's so many different things we do out in the community. Just really, so I'm here tonight just to answer questions, which I'll get to in a second, but to just kind of put a face to our office. I don't know if that you guys have experienced this much in the past. I mean, I know I've been here a couple of times, but I'm here to sort of explain to you guys what we do in the district attorney's office, because quite frankly, I think I can do my job better when I'm out in the community and when the community knows me, and as opposed to just sitting in my office. So go ahead. More about community engagement. One of the things we do is we do programming at schools. We have a gun violence impact panel that we go to at the Buffalo schools. We do programming at senior centers where we have, I don't know if they've been out here at all. I don't know if Stan, you remember they had Brian Cerro, Gary Earl been here at all? Yeah, so we do programming, for example, talking about scams that, elderly senior citizens are, oftentimes victims of. People are, like my mother-in-law, for example, she gets calls like once a week from somebody trying to get her to, give information out over the phone. I'll give you one tip. Don't give anybody any information out over the phone. You don't give them your name, your social security number. I don't care if they say they're calling because, your grandson is in trouble and they need money. Don't give information out over the phone. Take their name, take their phone number, you can call them back if you want. But don't give any information on the phone or on the computer for that matter. But we do programming like that at senior centers across the community. The other programming we do at schools is like cyberbullying and just bullying in general. We do at this time of year, actually a little bit, a couple of weeks ago, we were doing programming at schools across the county to talk to them about drinking and driving with prom season coming up. And, just a lot of different ways to get into the community and educate people about some of the issues that they should be concerned with. Gun violence impact panels I mentioned. More. So, this is one of the initiatives that John and I embraced a few years ago. There's a woman who lives in the city of Buffalo whose name is Dina Thompson. She came to us with this idea. She works for the Erie County Restorative Justice Coalition. And she came to us with an idea to deal with the rapid increase in stolen cars. And, we weren't really dealing, in the same way we recognize that people have underlying problems with drug cases or, the DWI court or the Veterans Court, etc. She recognized that we weren't dealing with some of the really young kids that were getting involved in stealing cars. So we agreed to a program with her that we started. I think it's in its third year, and they are. In order to qualify for the program, it has to be your first arrest. Okay, there has to be no violence involved. It's just someone that stole a car, and there can't be any guns involved. They can't be chased by the police. We have pretty strict limits on it, so we're not taking a lot of people into it. But the success rate has been incredible, and we put them in what we call restorative circles with a victim of one of these crimes. And we have the victim explain what having their car stolen has meant to them. They couldn't get their kid to school, or they couldn't get their elderly parent to the doctor's appointment, and the tremendous financial impact that it has on the victim. It's a very small room where these circles take place. I've been in them a couple of times. We also have members of law enforcement, like someone from my office or a police officer, and talk to them about the dangers, that they expose themselves to and others, with the police having to get involved and potentially chase these kids. And then, finally we hook them up with, whatever their issue is. If they have, some of these kids are homeless, some of these kids have nobody at home, they can't even get a meal, they're not going to school. So we try to deal with some of the underlying problems there. In any event, I think it says right at the bottom, 75% of the kids that we have enrolled in this program do not get rearrested. So to me, that's a success. I don't see that 75% of these kids I haven't seen for a second time or a third time. And I can tell you, there is a very small number of kids committing most of these stolen cars. Because I'll see them with their fifth and sixth arrest. I didn't see them the first couple of times because they went to family court. By the time they get to me, they've had a fifth or sixth arrest. So if I can stop some of that recidivism, that's the goal of this program, and it has proven to be very successful. All right, this is where I recruit. Anybody in law school or want to come to work for the district attorney's office? All right, well, if you got any kids or grandkids, we're constantly looking for people. One of the, let me say it this way. Our business model, so to speak, is that, when young people graduate from law school, the same way I did, you want to learn how to be a trial lawyer, you want to make an impact on your community, and you come to work for the district attorney's office. We do put we put our young lawyers right into court right away, and you go out, you learn how to be a trial attorney, and then they start their careers from there. They can move into other government offices, or they move into the private sector. But as a result of that sort of business model, we have regular turnover. You know, I mean, I'm constantly looking for lawyers. I'm constantly looking for support staff. So, in all seriousness, if you know anybody that's looking for an opportunity to do great work and help the community, please reach out to us. And if you think you have any need for any of the programming I talked about, and I'm sure I left a whole bunch of things out, you know, again, please reach out to me because, you know, we'll go to senior centers, we'll go to your schools. You know, there's a lot of different, you know, if you see me on TV or you hear me on the radio or you see something in the Buffalo News about me or our office, it's because of the, you know, it's some horrible case, okay? And that's the only, you know, time the media is really interested in. But we're trying to be more educational, more proactive. So if you have any interest in any of the programming, please let me know. And I think that might be about it. Any more? So I'm happy to take any questions if anybody's got any. I do not want to talk about specific cases. I can't do that. It would be inappropriate, but I'm happy to try to answer any questions. Yes, sir.
Could you update us on where the state is with their guidelines for cashier's bail and all that rigmarole? And, you know, are they giving the judges more discretion? And is that helping or hurting or where?
Well, I can tell you, it's a question I get all the time. So the media has done a good job of, you know, letting everybody know it's a problem. It is, the bail statute was reformed in 2020, and the changes that they made, they did so without talking to district attorneys across the state. They did so without talking to police officers and police departments across the state, and it was kind of a mess. And that's maybe an understatement. They made some changes right away, like literally. It started January 1st, and by April they recognized that they had some serious problems, and they made some changes in April. They made some more changes the following year, and then they made, I think their final amendments were done in 2023. It has gotten better. It's you know, here's, if I can try to simplify it, essentially every violent crime in New York is eligible for bail. Somebody committed a violent crime, and there's dozens and there's like 170 on the books. So if there's violence involved, that person is eligible for bail when he appears at an arraignment before a judge. We ask for bail, or we ask for remand. Remand means no bail. Lock them up. We don't think they should be eligible for bail. On gun cases, on homicides, on sexual assaults, we ask for remand. That's all we can do. We can ask. We can make a recommendation. At the end of the day, it's the judge's decision. And you don't have this issue really in Cheektowaga, but a lot of the judges in the community, you know, especially in the city of Buffalo, they don't set bail on violent crimes. That's not a problem with the statute. It's a problem with the judge. And but you know, try not to talk about that too much because I'm going to be in front of that judge on dozens and dozens of cases. So I'm certainly not going to mention their names, but there's a narrative out there. It's motivated by politics, quite honestly. That the bail statute is like the worst thing that ever happened. They addressed most of it. I still think they should give the judges more discretion. I think it would be very simple if they just did what 49 other states have done, and that is to say there's a dangerousness to the community standard. We don't have it in New York. Every other state has it. And if a judge was allowed to say, okay, I don't care that he only committed a petty larceny. Okay, if he only committed a petty larceny, it's not a violent crime. It's not qualified for bail. But based on your record and so many other things I'm looking at here, I think you're a danger to the community. Then the judge could set bail in that case. They can't do that anymore. They used to be able to do it 20 years ago, 7 years ago. But it's not going to happen. Not in the foreseeable future. Not in New York State.
So if they don't set bail, they let them go? Is that what you're saying?
Well, they let them go during the pendency of the case. Yeah. So, you know, and the theory behind that is, look, everybody's innocent until proven guilty. And if all you did was steal a pair of sneakers, why should you be sitting in jail while the case is pending? You know, let the prosecutor prove the case. And then the judge gets to decide if I go to jail. And a lot of these low-level cases, actually, the vast majority of these low-level cases that bail is not eligible, they're never going to jail anyways. The judge, not even in this town, they're not going to jail. You know, a judge isn't putting somebody in jail for the vast majority of those low-level cases. I'm not sure if that makes sense. The bail is, in New York State, the whole purpose of it is to make sure the person returns to court. And if they're a flight risk, that's what the statute contemplates. If you are a flight risk, I'm going to set bail, because you're going to then come back to court because you're not going to want to lose your money. So that's the idea behind bail in New York. But it's only during the pendency of the case. At the end of the case, if you were convicted of stealing that pair of sneakers, the judge can put you in jail up to a year. But the bail is supposed to just make sure that the person returns to court. I personally think there should also be a dangerousness component that the judges should be allowed to consider. Because if you stole a pair of sneakers and the judge lets you go and you do something worse, and the judge could have foreseen that, he should have been able to consider it and set bail. So this is a complicated question and answer, and we can go on and on, but I don't know if that covers it.
Why do we reduce so many charges? You know, somebody might get blasted with like 6, 7 charges, and when they go to court, you know, it's plead guilty of one.
So the simplest answer is because if I have somebody, give you an example, let me do it that way. If I have somebody that's charged with a criminal possession of a weapon in the second degree, okay, that is the unlawful possession of a loaded firearm. So somebody's got a gun and they don't have a permit for it, and the gun's loaded, okay? That's a C violent felony in New York State. If they also have they stole a car and they had stolen property in the car and they had 5 or 6 other things, and those were all part of the same crime, okay? So the person stopped in a car and it's a stolen car and he's got it unlawfully as a gun. He's charged with that C felony, that criminal possession of a weapon. Second, it's the highest count is the C. In addition to that count, the stolen property, the stolen car, the other charges, fleeing from the police, those are all lower level cases, okay? If I make him plead guilty to the C violent felony, I'm making sure he's going to be exposed to the maximum sentence that the judge wants to enforce. If I make him plead to everything, he's not exposed to any more time. So, because all of that time would have to run concurrent, because it's all part of the same transaction. So it looks like, yeah, there's 6 counts there, Kane, and you made him plead guilty to only 1. Why? Because the judge made a commitment that you don't know about, and he said, okay, I'm going to give him 3 years in jail, and I don't have to make him plead to everything because it would all run concurrent. The judge could sentence him to jail on everything. It's not going to be any more than 3 years. I don't know if that makes sense. You might not like it, but that's the reality of it. All those other charges get subsided by the highest count. So most of the time, what you're seeing is that example. You understand the answer? Anybody else? Yes, sir.
You mentioned that you cover all of Erie County. Do all towns have a court?
Yeah, every town in New York State has a court.
Okay.
Every court has 2 judges appointed to it. Every village has 1 judge. So the village of Pew has 1 judge and then an acting judge. The town of Cheektowaga has 2 judges. Every town in Erie County has 2 judges. We have to cover every one of those courts.
Sloan don't have a judge.
Sloan,
That's a village.
they used to have a judge. In 1994, they had a judge. Is Sloan still a village? Recognized? And they don't have a village court. You're right, they don't have a village court. I guess they got rid of it. I remember the judge there.
Is it because we control it?
I'm sure it's Cheektowaga they worked out a rate in Cheektowaga where all the cases, obviously any crimes that happen in Sloan, is the entire village contained within the town? Yeah. I know Depew runs through both Lancaster and Cheektowaga. So every crime that happens in Sloan is going to be come to the village or to the town of Cheektowaga. I didn't know that. Yes, sir.
Just one other thing. Your budget comes from Erie County.
Yes. Yeah. The budget. every year, right about now, we're working on our budget for next year. We submit it to the county executive. They go through it, and then we try to negotiate, and then we go to the county legislature has to pass it, and then he signs it. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Prosecutor under the New York State Safe Act,
Do I?
any violations that run through the county courts or how's that handled?
Yeah, any crime in New York State that's charged, we will investigate and prosecute.
Do you have any statistics on activity under the Safe Act? Violations?
There's not a lot. I'm going to be perfectly candid with you. There's different sections of the Safe Act, as I'm sure.
There's the firearms, and then there's also the red flag.
Yeah. There's extended magazines under the Safe Act. There are provisions in the Safe, I think, that you would consider in the Safe Act that are, the unsafe storage statute. But they're, it's a term that's used to sort of cover a whole bunch of different crimes. It's not a significant crime in Erie County. The biggest one, quite honestly, that we see, and I just said thank you. The grand jury finished its term last Thursday and Friday. We have 2 grand juries sitting at a time. And every 6 weeks, I say thank you to them for their service. Every 6 weeks, the most voluminous crime that we have in Erie County is that CPW second example that I gave you. So that criminal possession of a weapon in the second degree, that's a C violent felony. Somebody possessing a loaded gun without a permit. That's the most voluminous charge that we have. By the way, and this is one of the things we talk to these kids about when we go to the schools, because they have no idea. That charge, if convicted of that C violent felony, you're looking at a minimum state prison sentence of 3.5 years. There's no negotiating that. It's minimum 3.5 years. It's as much as 15 years. So, I got a 19-year-old kid with a loaded gun, and he doesn't have a permit for it. He's going to state prison for 3.5 years, unless, I give him a break. And if I give him a break to a 1-step reduction, then he's eligible for probation. So, I don't even remember what was the question. I got it? All right. Sorry. It's a problem with lawyers, they don't know when to shut up. Anybody else? All right. Thanks. Who brought the pizza? I didn't see it either. It was here at the last meeting. All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Last month we canceled the meeting. Hopefully that didn't inconvenience anybody. If you have a change of email, make sure we get it, because we'll send an email out for any changes before the meeting. So my recommendation is that before you go to the meeting, just check your email just to make sure. 99.9% of the time we're going to have the meeting, other than if the Sabres are in the playoffs or there's a snowstorm. So hopefully no one was inconvenienced there. But make sure Officer Nazareth has your most current email address. Mike's got some information on Purple Heart recipients.
Yes, I do. When we heard from Mickey Kearns, he mentioned this about the William Donovan Purple Heart recipients and Book of Merit. I printed out a bunch of applications. If you know anyone who was a veteran who was maybe omitted or lost in translation, if they were injured or just if they passed away and they want to get their name in that Book of Merit, there's a bunch of copies right here. If you want to grab one, just got to fill it out and send it in before July 24th to get them added by August. And then I did have another thing regarding my classifieds in the Sentinel. If anyone knows anyone who can use a hand, maybe installing some security lighting or a Ring doorbell camera recorder, I'm gonna help if anybody needs some help. And if anyone else knows how to do it, who wants to help, I'd appreciate a call, get my number right here and send them. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Before we get to Officer Nazareth, is there any elected official that would like to say any words? I tried to scan. Would you like to say anything, Monica?
I can talk about it.
Talk loud.
Okay, thank you for that offer of installing lighting. That is amazing, so thank you very much. Speaking of lighting, we are recipients of a donation from the Buffalo Bills. They are donating their actual lights from the stadium to us. So, yeah, so it is exciting. So they're the LED bulbs from the stadium. So what they have to do is they have to bring them down, transport them, and we're gonna put them up in Lawson Park for the baseball and softball fields. But we have extra lights. We have more than enough for the field. So if we can install them over town, because we know how, just extra lighting, it'll be cheaper to pay because they're LED, more efficient, they don't have to go up and down so much. There is a bit of a cost transporting them off the bat, but we're hoping to see long-term savings for that. And it's exciting, the Buffalo Bills. We'll be playing under, I'm gonna join a softball league just so I can play under the lights, so. I don't know if everyone saw the exciting news today that IKEA is going to open up in the Galleria Mall in the early 2027. So I was excited about that. Anyone have any questions for me?
Yes.
Yep.
Can you have ducks or chickens in Cheektowaga on your property?
I don't think so.
I think it's I know in Depew and Lancaster it's a special use permit. I don't know if the Cheektowaga code allows chickens, okay? But you can call the...
Yeah, I think I saw a post recently of someone who was homeschooling and they started some chickens. Is that what this is coming from, or is this a different? Okay. Okay.
This neighbor is thinking that somebody has it. He asked me if I knew. I didn't think Cheektowaga you could do this, and he's a little concerned, and I'm just wondering if...
Have them call code enforcement.
Yeah, code enforcement would be.
I told him that also. I said,
Yeah.
Contact either the town hall or Alexander or whatever and check, so I'm not sure how far it's going to go.
Okay.
And just one other thing, what about, squatters? Is that allowed
No, like
in the town?
no, I think it's hard to enforce, but no, squatting in someone else's property would be a crime.
Can I just give a comment?
Sure.
When I was on the town board back in 2008, people would call me for two reasons. One, a house was abandoned, or there was people living in there that they didn't think should be living in there. I'm a strong opponent that your council members are the ones that should take the action, okay? That's my personal belief. So what I did was, I went to the house, I called the police dispatcher, and I asked for 2 police cars right away. They sent the 2 cars. We walked through the house, tried to find out what was going on, okay? If it was abandoned, then I called the code enforcement the next day to have the building boarded up. If they're squatters, then the police can evict them if they can't show proof of residency. So I'm not trying to put Monica on the spot. Your council members are the ones that should take action there. They're the public officials of the town, and they have the responsibility of making sure that the town is safe along with the police. So
Do you have a property in mind?
Yes, there is a situation where the man was put in the hospital, will not be returning. I'm not sure if there's a friend, whatever, female, with others that do not want to leave. The man's family is trying to get them out. And I'm not sure if they're saying that we're squatter laws where we can stay here. And I'm not sure if there's an issue there.
Are they friends with the gentleman, or they just moved in?
No, apparently they were, yes. He
Okay.
took them under their wing, if you will,
Okay.
but like I said, the man is not coming back. The family wants the building back or do something with the building because he is not going to be.
Okay, if we can touch base, I'll get the address and I'll touch base with code enforcement with you.
Monica, give your last name so they all know.
Oh, okay. Councilmember Elderkin, just in case I'm not familiar to you. Councilmember Monica Elderkin.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
We appreciate you coming to our meeting.
We got one more
Go
question.
ahead.
Excuse me, do you know anything about a parking schedule on the Galleria Mall?
So the last I heard of it was they are having an issue with parking. So it has not come to town board yet, but they had not enough parking spots in their plans for the number of apartments. But they had plans. We did see them originally when they were talking about their plans. We haven't approved anything yet. They have gone before the planning board, zoning board. Everything was looking good until they got to the parking lot, the lack of parking spots.
Whereabouts is that? That they were building?
Right by the mall, by Cheektowaga Central. So I'm sorry, I don't know the streets offhand. I'd have to
Like
look 'em up.
Rangers. Yeah, Kesson.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mother. Any, did you want to say something or no? Go ahead.
The newsletter will be coming out after the couple of months. But one of the things that's been in here before,
Can you speak up a little?
was last month.
What?
Can't hear you. Can't hear me?
No.
One of the things that was in last month's newsletter was numbering on your houses and your mailboxes. I have a part-time job right all over here in town, and I see probably 50% at least of houses that I drive by don't have numbers. Nothing on the house, and the mailbox numbers fell off 30 years ago. So, if you are in a neighborhood where you have a mailbox out in the street, please make sure your numbers are on it. And or, number 2, on the house. One thing I put on there last month, the numbers on my house, on my front of my brick house, are this big. A lot of people have been doing that on the newer houses, the drive-through developments that are new. And a lot of people are going to that. I'm hoping that other people can take the lead on that, take the hint, because and I'm doing my job, but if you need emergency services in the middle of the night, you need EMS, you need fire. If they can't find a house number or a mailbox number, that's going to be delayed, and you're not going to get the help that you need when you need it. It's going to be slow. If you're looking, especially at night, it's horrible not to be able to see where someone's house is. So, any questions or rebuttals? Just more, another thing to keep you guys safe. Don't want anything to happen.
All right, concerns of the police department. I know it sounds like a broken record, and I apologize. Keep locking your cars, keep locking your houses. It's summertime now. If you're out in the backyard, lock your front doors and vice versa. We've had calls over the past years that people were out barbecuing in their backyard, they didn't lock their front door, and somebody walked in and stole stuff. So you have to protect yourself, because if there's an opportunity and the bad guy happens to be walking by, they're going to take the shot that you're not going to hear him sneak into your house. National Night Out is on August 4th. We're going to do it at Town Park. We're not sure exactly of the event yet, but we're certainly going to ask you guys to come participate, or at least show up to attend it. Once I figure out what we're doing for events there and whether we need help or not, we'll let you know. But we're just throwing out a bunch of ideas right now to figure that out. We're currently going to start our Graduate Citizens Police Academy. It's for the people who attended the last Citizens Police Academy. I think we've got 16 people coming back from the first academy to do the second academy. We start that next Thursday, I believe. And then we're also doing an accelerated academy for college kids. Every college kid that goes to school for law enforcement or forensics needs between 90 and 120 hours. So if they come to us for the 1 week from June 29th to July 4th, we can give them 40 hours or 45 hours of their internship. It helps the local kids out because then they don't have to spend so many times coming back. We have a pretty good program planned for them. And the one Citizens Police Academy that we're starting next Monday is the Citizens Police Academy for the Bengali population. The Bengalis have a pretty large presence in our town. They estimate, from their estimates, roughly 20,000 people. And as a police department, we don't know a whole lot about that community. They don't know a whole lot about the police department, so what a great way to start to bridge that gap. We've reached out to a guy that works for Buffalo, for the city of Buffalo, as their liaison between the city and the Bengali community, a kid named Sahi Chowdhury. Great kid. He's about 30 years old, really involved in the community and trying to make sure that everybody gets to know each other. He's invited 15 of the imams, which are their high priests in their community. We're going to start with the high priests. After this goes, if it goes well, we're going to reach out to the Bengali community. And then there's talk, and I don't know how it'll go over, but we're talking maybe that we'd like to do a women-only Bengali community Citizens Police Academy taught by all the ladies in our police department. So we're working on something like that. It's just in its infancy now, but we want to get through the imams first and then see where we can go with it. But I think it'll be very productive to get to the high priests and let them start to get the message out about who we are as a police department and start to learn about their community. The few times I've met with Sahi to plan this, it's always been around a Bengali dinner, and by golly, they make pretty good food. So that's all I've got for you.
Paul, whereabouts are they?
Whereabouts are they?
In Cheektowaga?
All over the place. Cheektowaga, Sloan. It's just this population that's kind of grown big, and you can go to Walmart and you can see the amount of them working there. It's just this population that's grown and quietly grown, and they don't cause a whole lot of trouble. They're not the best at parking. When they have an event, they park wherever it is, and that's a concern for us. But other than that, they're a pretty quiet group of people.
I would highly recommend anyone interested in going through this program. I went through the basic and also the graduate program, and you learn a lot about policing, the Cheektowaga Police. It's a fantastic program, and with the number of different types of people living in our town, I think the orientation process is fantastic because it reduces the fear and the questions, and our community is changing. So I commend the police for inviting the Bengalis to this type of program because it just benefits all of us. So before we do the 50-50,
Real quick, if you haven't signed in, please do so. I have not it would have been last month's Sentinel here. As soon as Ed would give me the stats to put the next one out, so the current one will put that out probably tomorrow, I imagine. I didn't get the stats in time to get it together for tonight, so partly on me. But we will have that email to you tomorrow, so if you sign in and I don't have your email, please pull in the air. If not, I'll bring a bunch of copies for next one. But I have the May copy, and I also have what the DA encouraged little flyers that he wanted me to pass out. We also have those RFID envelopes for your credit cards and your license from the Better Business Bureau. If you want to grab some of them. The chief specifically asked me to hand those out. I see we have a box of them in there, so take a couple, take them for your friends, take them for your neighbors, take them for people you don't even know.
I don't mean to sound simple here, but you realize what these things are made for? They're made to put your credit card in. And there's scammers out there with electronic devices that can walk by you and get your credit card number. Believe it or not, they're that sophisticated. So I would highly recommend that if you don't keep your credit cards in some kind of protective enclosure, you go and get one, because I have 2 credit cards and I keep both of mine in there. And a lot of people laugh when I pull it out, but at least I feel secure that no one can read them. Any questions? Any more questions before the 50-50? Oh, I want to thank Ed and Mike for doing the Sentinel. It's a lot of coordination, a lot of work, and their goal is to give us information. So let's just give them a round of applause for it. All right, Mike, 50-50. This is for what? The Cadillac? All right, thank you, everyone. Have a nice month. See you next month.